Tasneem, just outline for us what you found in this reporting and why it is significant.
Yeah, good morning. So if we start with the second point first, the significance. I suppose what's interesting here is that it comes after 2 years of the Inflation Reduction Act, which is, essentially a piece of legislation that provides tax incentives to do green investments. And it also comes despite enormous legislative and regulatory framework supporting green transition in the EU. And despite all of this, hedge funds as a group, they're not looking to ideology, they're just looking into how to make money, and they're largely betting against key green sectors. So as you mentioned specifically, more hedge funds are short solar than are long. The same applies to batteries, the same applies to hydrogen, the same applies to electric vehicles. At the same time, there are more hedge funds that are long oil, gas, and even coal, which, as you know, is the dirtiest of all fossil fuels. So despite historic stimulus packages, there's just limited appetite to invest in the green transition.
Yeah, because some of those prospects, I mean, you could make the argument as an investor, you follow the policy, follow the stimulus, and if you were to do that on these fronts, it would lead you to investing in the transition. But that's not happening. Why is that? Why is that not proving a catalyst?
So it's a sector that's very sensitive to interest rate changes. And we saw, when there were emergency interest rate cuts during the pandemic and there was very little demand for energy, the green sector did well. When the pandemic ended, lockdowns were rolled back and the economy came roaring back. Interest rates rose, and there was suddenly a lot of demand for energy, with fossil fuels sort of filling a lot of the, the intermittency that a lot of renewables suffer from. And so in that environment, they've just done badly. There was an expectation early at the beginning of this year that with interest rates coming down, that would change. There would be a rebound in the green sector, but that hasn't happened. And the reason we kept hearing from the hedge fund managers we spoke to was geopolitics, and specifically tariff wars. They just don't like tariff wars. They don't like the sort of the uncertainty around this. They don't know how to trade it. That is the US and Europe as well imposing tariffs on China that are very detrimental to the solar sector. And then China obviously also retaliating. And the outcome of the US election is obviously also going to be key in determining how that tariff war plays out. So we had hedge fund managers talking to us about, if you see China in a sector of the green economy, run for the hills. And what we're left with is a situation where, climate change is a global issue, but it's bumping up against nationalism and protectionism even in the form of tariffs, which are basically just leaving a key investor sector sort of put off.